As a former coach, teacher, and assistant principal, I've seen firsthand what many of our students are facing and the struggles that they're up against. These kids today they have some struggles that some are public where they can be seen, and some are silent struggles that these kids are facing. And these kids, a lot of these kids, many of our kids today, they're looking for hope, and they pull their hope and they pull their truths from the world. And we all know that their worldview is shaped by social media, is shaped by the music that they listen to, and also a lack of healthy community. The worldview, this worldview that many of our kids see today, it leads them to comparison, it leads them to isolation, and through that isolation, you see depression and a rise in suicide rates. I remember being an assistant principal, it was heartbreaking to see the number of cases that we dealt with kids who had suicidal thoughts. And coming out of COVID and that isolation period, it's only gotten worse. And so that's why it's so important. I feel that we just need to meet them where they are. When I was an assistant principal and the opportunity came for me to step into the ministry of FCA, I knew right then and there that this was the answer to the things that I saw. And FCA, what I've seen and what we've been a part of, we get to meet these kids where they are. We get to meet these coaches where they are. And there's a lot of different ways that FCA can resolve some of these challenges that our kids are facing. But one of the best strategies that we have is ministering to and through the coaches. As we all know, coaches have such a huge impact, not just on the athletes that they're coaching, but also on the athletes and the students within their campuses. And so having FCA being able to use their discipleship program, the discipleship ministry of E3, engaging, equipping, and empowering coaches to go out and be confident to share the gospel. We're multiplying our opportunities to make disciples who will go out and make disciples. And that's our strategy, but it also goes into our multi-sport huddles, where we have those huddle leaders who some are not coaches, some are teachers on those campuses who have a heart for ministry, and who have a heart for these students, who want nothing more than to see these kids be able to put their hope in something so much greater than themselves, and that hope is in Jesus. One of the biggest advantages to FCA is we're about building relationships. And through the relationships, it helps us to be able to take these kids and these coaches into a place where they have a healthy community, a place where they can see hope, and we're meeting them where they are, and we're loving them like Jesus. And there's no judgment, there's no comparison. We just want them to be able to reap the benefits of the true love of God. And so through our coaches ministry, our coaches discipleship, we are leading coaches to disciple their coaches, which will then go into their programs and into their homes. Through our huddle leaders, we are discipling them, our volunteers. We have a variety of ways that we meet these kids where they are. And FCA is one of the very few ministries that still have an opportunity to get into the schools and to share the gospel, share the love of Jesus in the schools, on the campuses, with coaches and with athletes. But there's a level of respect that a coach has on a student athlete that many don't have. There were kids that I could get to run through a brick wall on the field, but I could also step into their classroom when they weren't doing what they needed to be doing, and it's an immediate just giving that look, that eye contact, and this, yes sir, I got you, coach. That makes a coach so different. When you think about a coach has so many different personalities on their team. When you think about a football team, you could have up to 60, 70 players on the team, a basketball team of 15, all these different sports. Nobody on that team is the same. And so these coaches are having to use their gifts to pull these student athletes together, coming from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different circumstances and situations for a common goal, and that's to win. But we get to help them do something so much greater. So we're trying to help coaches understand it's so much bigger than a win or loss on the scoreboard. We're trying to win souls for eternity. And I think that's why a coach's role is so unique, because they have that player, that student athlete, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. sometimes year long with small breaks in between. But it's the relationship piece. And I think that's why a coach's role with FCA is so great. A coach's role in a student athlete's life is so great, and the impact is so great because of the relationships that are formed. You have some kids for 4 years, and you think about seeing a kid for 4 years, almost all year long. These kids open up and share things to coaches that they won't share to their parents, to their teachers. I've seen it firsthand. I mean, I've had parents come to me and say, "Hey, coach, I need you to talk to my son or my daughter about X, Y, and Z." And that's the power of a coach. And we can't miss that. That's why our strategy of ministering to and through the coach is so impactful. And it goes even down to our volunteers. There are people who are about building relationships, and that's what it's about. If we can't build relationships, then we're not getting anywhere. I would tell my coaches, I would tell my teachers this all the time: kids don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And when we can show that, it opens up the door for us to share the love of Jesus, and not just by what we say, but also by our actions. Jesus was a servant, and so these coaches are serving these student athletes, these families. And our job at FCA is to serve these coaches, to serve these families, to serve these communities. And that's what we're here to do. We just want to serve. We want to love on people. We want to be the hands and feet of Jesus and meet people where they are. I wish that FCA was strong for me in high school as it is now. There's no telling where my life would be, but I know that my life is where it is now, and I'm where I need to be because of this very reason right here. And so that's the impact that FCA has. That's the impact a coach has. And that's why it's so important that we come alongside and we pour into the hearts of our coaches through our huddle leaders and through our volunteers, so that we can continue to build relationships and help them grow, help them to become a disciple maker within their own coaching staff, within their own sports team, within their own campus. And then that's when we see the true work of Jesus being done.